Hey guys, today is January 7th, 2024. So I want to start off and talk about the earthquake that happened in Japan and show you how there's a connection with iPetGoat, the video. And then touch on another high watch date that I see coming up, January 10th. And I want to show you the connection there once again with iPetGoat. So as it stands now, they're saying 126 have died from the earthquake that happened in Japan, and there's also a tsunami, actually. That number is expected to rise because there are still many missing. But I talked about before that one of the connections that I look for is like a 9/11 connection to the release date of iPetGoat. Because George Bush was reading the book, My Pet Goat, to children on 9/11, and therefore iPetGoat 2 is referring to a second 9/11, but it's really all about multiple events. And so we've seen in the past 9/11 connections connecting to significant events like school shooting or the Ukraine being invaded by Russia. And here once again, 11 years, 191 days after iPetGoat 2 released, we had this earthquake, a 7.6 in Japan on New Year's Day. And the coordinates I found interesting: 37 degrees latitude north and 137 east longitude. So as I said before, this LC can represent the numbers 1, 2, 3, or 37. And because L is the 12th letter, C is the third letter. But this way, Obama's looking at it and it's C7. So third letter and 7, 37. And Apple happens to be located on the same latitude that this earthquake happened, 37 degrees. And we came up to New Year's Eve. I did put a high watch date for New Year's Eve. I was also looking at New Year's Day as well, because we see New Year's Eve, it was 12/31/23, which is also 123/123, just like 12/3, but written twice. So we come up to New Year's Eve, and the apple splits. Well, the apple splitting, it can be a metaphor for many different things. It splits into two 8 shapes. We saw the event that took place in Hawaii on 8/8, the birthplace of so-called Obama. Whether that's true or not, that's what they say. That's what the story is. But in this video, we see Obama looking down at the apple. But it splits after reaching the LC. And this can be referenced to an earthquake, the splitting of the earth, and the apple falling into the sea, which can also be a reference to a tsunami. The sea, or SEA, like the sea and water. And I noticed the next trading day, Apple stock dropped more than $8 a share in intraday trading. So $8, and shows it splitting into two 8 shapes. But of course, they didn't just put this in here just for this New Year's Day earthquake. The apple can represent New York, the Big Apple. I also believe it has to do with the state of Washington. Washington is the largest producer of apples, and Washington is the 42nd state, and the word mega tsunami does equal 42. So I do see something probably in the future relating to a tsunami on both coasts with Washington and New York. And in 1989, they named the apple a state symbol of Washington as well. So the last time Japan had a tsunami was on that March 11th, 2011 earthquake, that caused the nuclear disaster at Fukushima. That was a 9.1 earthquake. The time difference was 4,679 days, which was the 633rd prime. Now, this number in itself I don't know what it means, but if I see a pattern of repeating numbers, it probably means something. As when I typed in Japan in 633 in Google, the fourth result that came up was the stock market falling in Japan 633 points after the earthquake that happened in 2011. And now we have equal to the 633rd prime, the time difference from this Fukushima disaster, to the New Year's Day earthquake. And now I want to get into January 10th and why I see a possibility for some type of event to occur. So the D on George Bush's head, obviously a dunce cap, but D is the fourth letter. And on January 10th, we have 4,044 weeks and 4 days after George Bush was born. So this D could reference an event related to George Bush's birth. Or it could be January 9th with the end date included, so the 9th or the 10th. Mass high school shooting equals 110, like the date January 10th. And back on November 29th, 1990, they enacted the Gun-Free School Zone Act. And the deadliest high school mass shooting in the U.S. happened on Valentine's Day, which I talked about many times. But that also happened to be 11/29 on the Hebrew calendar, matching 11/29, that this Gun-Free School Zone Act was enacted. And now we come to January 10th, which is also 11/29, but this time on the Chinese calendar. Now, if we look at the deadliest elementary mass school shooting in the U.S., that was Sandy Hook back in 2012. And it happens to be 4,044 days apart from January 10th. So Sandy Hook was in the state of Connecticut, the same state that Bush was born. So this date, we have 4,044 weeks, 4 days after Bush was born, and 4,044 days after the deadliest elementary school shooting in the state that Bush was born. And we have this D on Bush's head, which is the fourth letter. So we'll be watching to see what happens, if anything at all, on the 10th. Then my next video will be about January 22nd and why I see connections once again with iPetGoat. Alright guys, that's all I got for this video, and I will talk to you next time. Take care.